welcome to the show. Will Robertson, of course, Film Festival Live and filmfestivallive.com. On Instagram, Film Festival Live. My Instagram is Will Roberts Official because I'm official. Anyway, today another show, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I got to tell you something. I'm going to be real honest with you. That I have not spent a moment of the last 5 days or whatever it's been since this Alec Baldwin incident happened in New Mexico, having conversations with press, having conversations with fellow people on set that work, armorers, directors, producers, and then fielding all of these social media misconceptions. There we go. One of the things that I just want to say is that today I hope and I know that I'm going to have a very insightful conversation about what we do on sets, but also going forward, maybe a little technology, because I've got Mark Davis from Umrix at USA.com that's going to be on, a good friend. Anybody that I have on the show is a good friend. And if they're not, they will when the show is done. But Mark and I have bantered back and forth on a lot of these different subjects. And I will just say for the record that one of the reasons why this moment in time is going to be absolutely a great learning and educational moment is because of places like Umrix, because they have see, let me just say this. The air gun world, the BB gun world, it ain't your dad's old daisy days. It ain't your dad's daisy days. The guns that are out that they have that you can get. I've got the Colt 45 that they have, and the different guns are so realistic that for sure could be used on a set of a movie. And I will tell you, this conversation a little bit later in the show will be talking about that. Of course, I'm wearing out my welcome with my good friend Joey Dillon, local 44 armorer, union armorer, and he has been on my show. I've actually had more conversations with Joey about this subject now than I did in the days that I traveled around the world with Joey, and we did Wild West shows, spinning and doing our shooting and things that we did. Now Joey is very successfully working in the industry around the country, around the world, doing what he does, making sure that sets are safe. And I know that he has had a plethora of different articles and interviews about this subject. I have one that came out today. You can check my Instagram that came from a place called Brute, not the aftershave. That's an old reference. But the fact is that Brute News or something international, they took they took clips. And I just want to say one thing, and the guys can chime on this a little bit later, is they said the thing again about blanks having wads, again, real with a projectile, and blank with just powder, a primer load that goes and basically gives the impression that someone shot the gun. Nothing in it projectile. But I keep seeing this even in articles from people that you would assume, the media, should be educated because they've been scouring through all of us experts, and they keep saying wad. They keep saying that a blank is made up of the primer, the gunpowder, a shell, and a wad. There is no wad in a blank, and if there is, that would be either for various reasons outside of movies. For instance, mounted shooting using buckshot load that will break balloons. Not going to go into it. SAS, single action shooting, which shoots out a single wax bullet that will perhaps break or hit a target, whatever. So I just want to be clear about this, and we'll talk about this later on. Consequently, I was supposed to have a gentleman on by the name of Bandar. Bandar is the gentleman that is out there doing the 360 whatever.org, trying to get a bill written in our government about banning or not using real guns in. Just hold on a second here. Here goes that joke in the future, Joey. Not loaded, I think. Anyway, he is a gentleman that is running around the world, and he is trying to get guns banned on sets. And I just want to say for the record, and again, the guys can chime in when we bring them in. Actually, I'll bring Joey in really quickly. And Mark, you can hang out for a little bit, right?
Yes, sir.
Good, 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 good. All right. So, by the way, I just want you to see this here, Joey's slate. Joey's a Joey Dillon, local 44 armorer. You see him here on set. By the way, I saw that shot on the left with the is that a lever action? Can't see what that is. But anyway, and this is Joey with all the different guns. This is a shotgun. Anyway, bottom line is that Joey's been doing this for a long time, and he is the best there is. I consider him, even though he's younger than me, to be a mentor of all the things that I have learned throughout the years of hanging out with Joey. So without further ado, I really appreciate you being on the show, Joey. And let's just see. Oh, I don't think I did a two-shot with you, so we might actually have to do a three-shot. Mark, you're coming on whether you like it or not. Oh, wait, that's Bandar.
Where did I go?
Hold on, you didn't go anywhere. That was the other guy that was supposed to be on. Which, by the way, Bandar didn't want to be on camera. He thought that this was going to be an audio interview, and that's quite unfortunate because I wanted to talk about that, Bill. I have there's a lot of stuff that that we can talk about with guns, like there's a lot of safety measures on sets and what we do. I mean, you can't be a felon or a criminal and have a gun on set. There's a lot of things. We want to make sure that it's very safe. And just that statement alone, Joey, am I correct in saying that, like, people, if an actor on set has any kind of like criminal background, you wouldn't let them hold a gun, would you?
Well, it depends. I think as the rules are, if I'm ignorant of it, that's one thing. But if I find out that they're actually a felon and not legally able to own a gun, it becomes tricky, and I'm not supposed to enable them with real stuff.
Gotcha. Mark, welcome to the show. Joey, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on, both of you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. By the way, first of all, we have had conversations, Mark, and I just appreciate your. You are very great and grateful in all of our conversations about the weapons that you all have. I don't know if I want to call them weapons, but we call them air guns, BB guns. And I just want to start off by saying that the technology and the what's being done with BB and pellet guns is just enormously different than when my dad had a BB gun, one cock boom, or my Beeman 10 pop, which I redid the seal and got it up to 15. Anyway, it's a far cry different. Can you speak about this for a second?
Sure. Umarex, our company, a lot of people don't know the name Umarex, but they recognize various brands in the industry. Colt, for instance, which you've got some of our Colt product. We've got licensed product for Smith & Wesson, Beretta, several others, including Glock. What we do is we can build replicas, and that's the term that we use is it's a replica
Right.
of the firearm. So, we've gone a long ways in making things very real. So this is a kind of a 357 Smith & Wesson framed style air pistol here. This shoots 177 caliber BBs. And just like with a firearm, you have a swing out cylinder there. And
yeah, show the
as you're familiar, the shell that holds it, I'm just going to dump them all out here rather than fool around with it. But these use a realistic looking shell. Now this one's a little different than the one that your Colt takes.
Right.
Get a little close. Oh, my left and right's messed up.
Oh, sorry.
But anyways, but yeah, that's what it is. But the idea is that we can give people something that they can play around with in their backyard with their kids if they want to do that, and teach the fundamentals of safety, that's a very important thing to us at every stage.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, that's something that I want to just touch on a little bit later on. Can I ask you that in regards to air guns, Joey, Is this something that is currently either being used or being considered in the industry?
Yeah, there's some shows that have used entirely airsoft guns, and sometimes calling them blowback guns because we're not actually
Blowback. Yeah.
using them for the projectile, but just that the CO2 cartridge or whatever, moves the slide back and forth and gives the gun some action, and they look super realistic. So it's been done. I was even hired once to come out and just be the guy to show the actress that these are truly airsoft guns and not real guns, because she just did not want to touch a real gun, but she wanted somebody that she trusted that knew real guns to tell her that these were not real guns. And so that was an interesting armoring day, but I'm happy to facilitate whatever anybody needs from me. So, but I see that being used more and more. I'm not opposed to the phasing out of blanks, that they can be dangerous. It's just besides the one instance of the gentleman that the actor that died putting it to his head, there have been accidents, but not deaths. And I mean, you could sort of call the Bruce Lee incident a blank incident, but that was a projectile in front of the blank.
Yeah.
So I'm not against that, because CGI has come a really long way. I think sometimes there's still a little trailing in trying to get the movement of the gun and the brass ejecting out the side, because you do get that with blank fire. I know some shows are moving straight into completely solid plug guns, which, like on a modern firearm, you need the gas back pressure to cycle the gun and chamber the next load, and without a live round, a bullet coming out to create that back pressure, they're installed with plugs that are threaded into the front of the barrel, and there's different size diameter holes to create the proper restriction for the blank load that you're using. Well, these days we're starting to use completely solid plug, no hole in the front of the gun, so that nothing will ever come out of the front of the gun, which puts a lot of responsibility on us to make sure that only the right blank is put in there, because you don't want to overpower that. That gives you the blowback and the ejection of the brass round. And I know some action shows that are filming now, which I won't name, are 100% solid plug, so that they can do some crazy fight scenes and never care about hot powder and stuff, spraying out the front of the gun. And now you're only worried about where's the brass ejecting.
Well, let me ask you a question on that. Let me ask you a question. Hold on a second. I think we have a little bit. We do. I have a little bit of echoing here happening. Make sure that everything is muted. Muted.
I think there's going to be a push to do the CGI and airsoft when we can get stuff that fits the director's tastes for appearance.
Right.
And then I think there's just going to be a lot of cold weapons. There might be some people that want to know that the cold weapons we're using couldn't chamber a real bullet. A lot of the guns in the New York armories are modified to where technically you shouldn't be able to put a full length round in the gun. Therefore, you're nixing the ability to put a bullet in there. Sure. So there will probably be more of that coming down the line. And I'm open to all of that safety protocol when it's done so in a way that makes sense. If you're doing it because of what just happened, I take offense to that, because the investigation's not even over and people are still waiting for all the final news to come out. And yet now we're trying to pass a bill on something, and then half the people signing this petition for the bill still think it's a blank issue. Why are we still using blanks? Why are we still using blanks? This is ludicrous. And it's like, if you read a few more articles, you'd know it had nothing to do with a blank.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you're signing this for banning guns, not blanks, is to me ludicrous. Like, do your homework, be educated, then make the decision. So the knee-jerk reactions to this thing is what's bothering me. We could have a conversation about doing it for safety, as well as a lot of times we nix firing blanks on set because we simply don't have the time to pass out safety gear and set everybody up in a way that nobody's going to be injured, and there's just no time. The sun's setting, we got to go, and a lot of times it's a bunch of rubber guns in the background, hands pretending to fire, and I'm trying to tell them, don't do this for recoil, just try to keep it bomb, man. So.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to say something. By the way, Mark, I want to just pose this to you, because you were not supposed to be in this roundtable talking about this as much. Are you okay having conversations about what we're talking about?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yes.
with that being said, Joey, and then I'm going to go to you, Mark. What I want to ask Joey is because we all know the Kimars and the guns that are blank guns that you can get that look like the Colt or any other guns that are plugged, barrel plugged. I mean, we know from doing fast draw at hundreds of different corporate events that those things are pushing out the sides because they have nowhere to go when they do pop the load. And I guess my concern is obviously when you see people working with guns and they go like this, that's a problem, especially if you're using those types of blank loads. The new modified you talked about that actually do cycle, because I know in like a lever action that I was using before that it wouldn't cycle the 4440s because it didn't have that, and you helped modify that as well, or actually an FFL person did. But with that being said, is that the same sort of thing we'd be dealing with, is having muzzle fire coming out the sides though?
If we were using blank guns, prop guns, then they would be solid plug, and then you do get, if it's a revolver, you do get that spray out the side of the gun, and then that becomes sort of your more of a danger zone. If they're a semi-auto rifle or a machine gun or
Right.
a
Out of there. Yeah.
handgun, there's it's when the chamber opens, you're getting a little bit of that, but not so much as you would the revolver spraying out the side. Again, I think it would just be going to straight up CGI and not having to worry about where any of the blank matter goes.
Right. Mark, any thoughts on what Joey was talking about?
Yeah, there's so much that can be done in editing, in post, and maybe even behind the camera. I understand there's a lot of different camera setups. We're in a day and age where we can shrink down the size of some of this equipment that we're using to capture images and operate them remotely. So from a safety standpoint, okay, so I got a gun here that's got a cleaning rod stuck in it. And so just to illustrate that, to get that shot, here I am going right at the camera.
Yeah.
And, you're essentially, whether you're an actor or somebody that's on set or just in your backyard or anywhere there's going to be gun handling, period, you have to remember that you're holding essentially a laser.
Yeah.
You can't see the laser, but there it is. You wave it around, you're loading it and going through some stuff, and wherever that muzzle is, that's a laser. And so, kind of into the industry that you guys are in, it's an education process for everybody that's involved, everybody that's on the set and around. Yeah. And, if a prop gun, like an airsoft gun or a rubber gun or whatever needs to be used in the scene, and then take care of it in post, as far as the realism aspect of it, that, maybe that is a good solution, some of the time. It may not work all the time. No. I'm not so much into the industry to know that, but, sure. I'll leave that to you professionals. So,
yeah. And you know what, you brought up something that Joey had mentioned in one of the previous shows, which is, oh boy, I totally forgot what I was going to say, which is basically talking about the guns and the line of fire and, in regards to, boy, I absolutely forgot what I was going to say, but it's all good.
Just that there's always people at some point in making a movie that are going to be in the line of fire, basically, when you have 50 to 75 crew members on a large production, hiding in one spot because the camera sees everything else. Mm-hmm. And then you've got a lot of scenes designed to come towards camera. The gun is going to pass towards camera. And so I was just speaking with another gentleman who was, at first I thought I disagreed with, but then he and I had a conversation and I realized where he was coming from, and we sort of met halfway in a way that we both agree, which is to say, treat a gun like it's always loaded, and you never pointed at anybody. But that's sort of where I had my issue with him, was like, well, then you haven't been on camera. But he didn't have enough time to really unload that on the news, which is to say, until XYZ. So they're unbreakable until you break them. But the breaking of those rules has a lot of protocol, which is showing everybody they're not loaded. You know what I mean? So you don't break them until you know. And then you can break those rules. But those rules are going to be broken. So it's hard to talk to a lot of gun people who think you never point a gun at anybody. But I think there's going to be a market, perhaps, for guns that don't shoot airsoft, don't shoot anything, that are just really good looking.
Dummy guns.
And they did make those for a few years in the Western variant that I have a couple, and then they discontinued them. But it might be, up to some of these Italian manufacturers to start popping out some complete non-guns.
Yeah.
The $80 pot metal variety, but a good $450 beautiful fake.
Which, by the way, I will add this: when I was doing Cirque du Soleil and we were doing the gun spinning, Joey was commissioned by Cirque du Soleil through me to be able to make these spinning guns that we had, which were, I have it somewhere. I can't even show you right now, but it's like I think it was like a 1 foot barrel, and it was like as thick as a pipe because it was all nickeled out. They're pretty amazing, and you can spin them. But they were made, if I'm not wrong, by the Italian. Basically totally fake, but really realistic. But bottom line, those guns are $450 each or something like that, and they're not that easy to get, to be totally honest with you. But I do see that will be something, and so that there's a market tip for you, Mark, in regards to what you guys are doing. Let me ask you just really quickly, Mark, and then we're going to close up with one more question I want to ask you both to make a comment about. But that is that do you think, even before this happened, do you think that air guns are the new training wheels and the new how do I put this? Because when I go up to someone and I'm talking about guns and I'm saying, I'm going to show you how to do this for a shot or something like that, they go, oh, is it a real gun? And I've never really shot a real gun. And I don't mean to seem like I'm running scared with that, but there is a bit of concern when people grab it. Do you think that this is a moment and are airsoft guns enabling you to educate people that normally would not be even a foot near or 10 feet near or 100 feet near a real gun?
Absolutely. We see people who have never shot a gun be introduced to shooting through airsoft or a BB gun or something like that all the time. And I think there's a lot of psychological barriers that go into the reservations, and I totally understand those. Some of these people have been victimized, and they don't ever want to be a victim again. But yet, at the same time, the danger that is inherent when the tool is used incorrectly has really, really scarred them. But yes, it's probably one of the best tools because, number one, you don't have, with an air gun, you don't have noise. You have a projectile. Your projectile can be dangerous. Don't misunderstand that. Even an airsoft BB, you don't want to get hit with one of those close.
No. Anybody that has a brother and grew up usually can tell you about some sort of shot in your back or your behind. So, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's great. Yeah.
So good. And again, I think that's great because look, I'm not. Everybody knows that I'm not going to get political here, but I stand in the middle of this conversation because this has been an amazing conversation in the last several days because I get to talk to my gun friends and I get to talk to my other friends that are not into guns. And the interesting thing about this is that, and I'm saying this with all heartfelt sincerity, is that this is not a moment that was a shooting somewhere. This is not a police, a military, or a self-defense thing where you go into a situation knowing that this potentially could actually harm or kill someone. This was someone relatively, they're going to work. And they depend on people when they go to work to go, hey, this is your job. You're an actor. Here's what you get. And something fatal happens. So I really appreciate you guys coming on and talking about this because I think this is a moment, which brings me to my last question. This is a moment for people to have a conversation not about guns. And if you're marking this as a conversation talking about guns are not safe and guns are not this, I'm here to tell you, and I'm over here, and I'm not over here. I'm here to tell you that I believe you're wrong. This is an educational moment about safety because Joey made a great statement, and I'm going to hope he wraps it in this question about stunts and doing any other thing that you might be doing and the amount of things happen when these things are done. So the question, gentlemen, is I had this guest that was supposed to be on Bandar who wants to ban guns on sets because he thinks that, and many people do, that they are just a tragic thing to do, and we need to move out of this. And I guess just do cowboy films with, shaking hands and having resolutions that way. So my question is that what do you see in regards to this potential put together of a bill? Any thoughts on this? And here's what I know. What I know is it is sort of blanket, not really sure, but it's just about eliminating firearms from movie sets and TV sets and I guess even theaters. And by the way, I'm not going to have the conversation about being the guy that owns the reenactors group that has thousands of reenactors that, by the way, would never in their heart's mind would never have a fake gun on the field as they're doing 150 guys on the field doing Civil War or doing OK Corral. They just never would do that. That's another show. Joey, I'll let you start with that.
Sure. I think there's always a way when you seriously disagree with people to still find common ground, which is to say we are all angry that this happened and we've all gone through the mourning stages, or at least I have, and now I'm to the point of just trying to put out some fires of misinformation that affect what me and a lot of other artists do. So we can agree that we're all upset, and I'll sign my name to any petition that says more safety. But just saying, let's not worry about where the safety went away and just go after the thing that killed him. And I say thing because it's a thing. There are more deaths related to automobile stunts in the last couple decades since Brandon Lee, a lot more than gun, because only one person has died from a gun since Brandon Lee, and that just happened. Just in the decade, I think from the 80s to the 90s, there was 37 stunt deaths, 24, I think, were helicopter deaths. And the last time we were having a conversation about film and danger and deaths was the Allman thing with the train track trestle, where the second camera guy, whatever, got killed. And I don't know if there was people signing petitions against trains. I think it was, what are you doing on a train track, a live train track? You don't do that. And I would say, what are you doing with live rounds, target practicing on set? You don't do that. So you don't need to have this conversation about banning the item. It's about, you don't do this. Somebody did it, and that is sad, and it happened. As with a lot of deaths, it comes down to a bunch of humans responsible, not really the thing that ended up being the killer.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, absolutely. And I will say, for the record, and I know that you'll agree with me, Joey, is that, like, for instance, my gun has never had a real bullet in it, and it is a real gun, but it's used specifically for my gun spinning and any sort of shooting that I do that is trick shooting or whatever it may happen to be, to show what the Old West, well, the 50s, 60s, and 70s movies were about all the different movies like Have Gun, Will Hire, blah, 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 Gunsmoke. Mark, go ahead. What's your thought?
Yeah, I'd like to say, Joey, first of all, I agree with what you said. That was a very good statement on that. And I was thinking back, my background is that I'm an English teacher, so the story is always spoken to me. And you look back in archetypal storytelling, you have conflicts. And so those tools that are used in those conflicts have always been a part of our storytelling. Even, back to the caveman days, I'm sure that was the same thing. And so when you hear about something like this, it kind of speaks to me that, yeah, there's some people out there that want to change the way stories are told, which, there's all sorts of different stories. There's a big encyclopedia of storytelling out there. But with this, once again, it's about safety and it's about education. We've got to, take steps all along the way of the process of filmmaking, going out to the range with your kids, whatever you're doing that's involving something that can have an inherent risk in it. Even, dirt biking, going to work every day.
Sure.
You've got to put safety first. The only safety that exists anywhere is the one that's between your ears.
Yeah.
So that's all I can add to that.
No, and that was really great statement to make as well, because the fact is that ignorance or fear is based upon not knowing. I mean, you can still be fearful, but when you learn more about something, and you do it over and over again, repetition, whether you're at the range or what you're doing, you then tend to be less fearful, and you can then bring it on to other people as well and say, hey, I'm here to tell you that you have a misconception about how this is done, and we are in that moment. Gentlemen, I appreciate your time. Joey Dillon, of course, local 44 Armorer in Los Angeles and around the world that I have known and worked with for many years. I have much respect and love for this man because he knows what he's doing, and that's the type of person, by the way, that you want on your sets, just so you know. And of course, Mark Davis from Umarex. I keep saying Umarex. It's Umarex. I know everybody else does too. UmarexUSA.com. Mark, I truly appreciate you. Really, even before all this, you have always spearheaded, and it's probably because you're an English teacher, the educational parts of this. And you've always been such a welcoming, wonderful person with this. I know we'll check in with you again. Check out umarexusa.com. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Will.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
All right. So I'm going to take a small little break here and tell you that right now, I'm very excited. I'm going to end the show with a good friend of mine that has been on the show several times and now has a wonderful segment on the show that is called The Business of Show Business. And that is Victor. I love having him on because he has produced this really great master class. I'm just giving you a little background. A little master class. I say little a lot, like I'm doing a little Wild West show. Yeah, it's not little at all. It's very monumental because I've said this before. I'll say it again. Everybody come back to where we're at. I'd get rid of this, but my hair looks like crap. But the fact is that we're now talking about the industry and helping people in the industry in what I call business, the show business. See, it's in there, show business, the business of show business. And I want to bring on right now, I'm very excited, Victor. And Victor, I'm going to tell you the first thing I want to learn. Let me get you in the shot. There you go. Is how I got to get your name right so I can say your last name. But I say Victor because you're my friend. Welcome to the show. Oh, wait, I have no sound on you. Hold on. We got to figure out why I have no sound on you. You're muted. So if you can see if there's a way of not muting you, is there a button or it's somewhere in the link there? Or no, I don't hear you. So I want to hear you. And let's see if there's a way of doing this. I would say, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have you call back in. Just link it back in and see if the audio lets you pick what you have, okay? All right, Victor. All right, so while Victor does that, I will continue to tell you that, thank you very much for watching the show 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Newsblaze.com is our news source and information that we are working with. I've known Alan at Newsblaze in Australia for quite some time, so let's see what we have here and see. It says guest in green room. I'm going to bring him up, put him in 4. I'm going to see what happens again this time. And let's see. Hello?
Hello.
Oh, look at you. Hey, welcome to the business of show business, Victor.
Thank you. How are you doing today?
I'm not going to lie to you. I would like a break from all this stuff that's been going on with this incident because I had 2 or 3 self-tape auditions that had to kind of go out the door, which didn't make my agent very happy. And, dealing with all this. But, we do have a responsibility. And that's one of the reasons why you're on is educating people about the business because you can spend, and you've been doing this a long time, as I have. And I would say in my 40 years of doing this, I think now 35 years into it, I feel after 35 years, only the last 5 years, I feel like I know the right things. But if I'm not wrong, and you address this in the masterclass, which you can see on, of course, filmfestivallive.com coming tomorrow because I've been so crazy, is that the industry has changed, hasn't it?
Of course it does. It changes, I would say, if not every day, probably every quarter. And, marketing changes, market changes, and the industry changes, due to market changes. So it's all connected. It's like a big system.
One of the things that I will say that has really drastically changed is obviously the availability of being able to shoot your own films. That's why we're doing filmfestivallive.com, and the equipment and the availability to have the responsibility as an actor or a filmmaker to be able to create things and not wait for, as I call them, the big boys. Can we touch on that? Because you do have a great lineup in this masterclass that we are putting out in segments, talking about actors' skills, actors' talents, actors, and being responsible. Let's touch on the responsibility that actors have and how it might have changed in the last 5 or 6 years. Oh, I lost your sound again. You went mute again. How did that happen? That's interesting. Hold on a second. I don't want this to happen every time. It says that you muted yourself. Is there a button that you pressed? I don't know what it is, but I am not hearing you, my friend. Let me see if I can get that. I don't think that's. Can you say no? I can't hear you. Well, that's not good. Our first segment can't go like this. Can you still hear me? Yeah, you can, but I can't hear you. Is there a way you can call back in but not use a headset? Maybe the headset's firing off. Oh, is it on your phone? Yeah, it is. Try that, and we'll see if you can hear me well enough. Is that okay? Good. All right. Hang tight, everybody. I am not letting him go. He is going to come back on. We're going to make this work. And congestion, because I'm in LA there's all kinds of stuff flying through the air. This is a really important segment, and I really absolutely want to do this. We're doing it once a week. This segment is once a week, and we're very glad that Victor's decided to come on and do this. But now I just have to work out the bugs. I'm going to bring him in, and here we go. So say hello.
Hello.
You're back again. Let's see what happens. Don't move. I did see a glitch in the screen, and all of a sudden you were silent. Let's talk about the question I was bringing up, the responsibility, and how things may have changed in the last 5 years.
Well, I think there are many responsibilities which each one has on the set, and right now I think that we will go into an era which has more of a multitasking. Of course, everything begins with preparation, and that's the key to success in many cases. Sometimes, some people tend to waste time with preparation, and, we have to always find a golden center. But for actors, yeah, you have to be ready yourself. You have to know your type. You have to know all your, strengths, maybe weaknesses, which we can turn into the strength.
Yeah.
And homework. That's one part. Another part is professionalism. It's being professional on set. We have a lot of things which would deal with ego, with insecurities, with blah blah blah, all these kind of things. And I think the more professional the person is, the least amount of these kind of issues we would face on set.
Yeah. And I agree with you on that. And I want to say that all of the elements that you just put together, see, most people think, actors think that, hey, my job is I show up and I'm going to do my lines and I'm going to act. And yes, that is your job. But the elements that you just mentioned, Earth, Wind, and Fire of acting and the business, are basically the things that will get you hired back. And will perhaps even take your career and elevate them. Pardon me, elevate them to a much higher degree, because what's happened in the last 15, 20 years is that we had this many actors, 15, 20 years ago. Now we have this many actors that went on YouTube that decided they wanted to do it. And we have millions of more, and we can all just do this digitally. But these common core, I hate to use that phrase, I did, but it's okay. These common core skills and self-evaluation and self-education that you're teaching, I just think this video is brilliant because, again, it touches on things that most people are going, well, you got to be an actor, you got to do Meisner, you got to do this. But no one's talking about the industry, which, by the way, in my opinion and yours, is going like this and moving along. It's not sitting still. Can we talk about...
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead and say anything about that.
Well, I think it's been like that for quite some time. I think that we are not living in the 90s and 2000s anymore, when there is a studio, there is a big production, huge production company like Warner Brothers or CBS or Fox. And more, we have opportunities to produce and to show our content and monetize it.
Yeah.
It's business, first of all. It's not just art, and I wouldn't say it's art. And the professionalism really matters here. Understanding of the business, understanding that an actor is not just acting. All these little details which I mentioned before, they will help you to act. And it's not only gets you to another job, it gets you to perform this job correctly.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
The here and
Yeah.
now, which most actors, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful, definitely live in the when I become an A-lister, I'm going to be a star. And I think they sometimes lose sight in hindsight that we want you to be here. And isn't that, maybe I'm wrong, but isn't that what acting is anyway? It's about being present and now.
Exactly. And you know, there's a huge, tiny little difference, which I call it this way. To be an actor, to be a professional actor, and to be a movie star, it's two completely different things.
Yeah.
When you're an actor, you practice your professional skills, your communication skills. You know how to prep. You know how to learn about the past of the character. To do all these little steps. That's professional actor. Of course, then your attitude and stuff. A movie star, a star, it's a brand name.
Yeah.
Two different things to work on. Yeah, actors, they become movie stars and they become brand names, which pays the money.
Oh, you went out again. I don't know why you went out as you finished that statement. So, you know what, Victor, we'll figure out this little glitch. And by all means, because I am having you on once a week and giving your pearls of wisdom and the conversation, because I love talking to you about this. And you did, and you have produced something really great. You can see on, of course, filmfestivallive.com, which we will be enhancing. And here's the cool part. It's free. Best four-letter word in the English language. I think I hear something. Can you say something?
Yes, hello.
Oh, there you are. You're back. Somehow you're dropping out and in, but it doesn't matter. It is a good segue into the end of this segment and the show. I want to thank you for coming on, and really because you are a very savvy businessman, and I think that in trade and doing the things that we do. That is something that I would say is more important. We, filmmakers, not just an actor, we're always professionals, hear all clearly. Okay, good. That's Sid. I know Sid. Sid's an actor on Facebook. I appreciate you saying that, Sid, and of course watching the show. Victor, it's always a pleasure, and you're on next week, and I will figure out, even if I have to ship you the equipment, but I know you have your own equipment because I've been on your show. And we'll make that happen. I really do appreciate that. Here we go, Monty. There it is. I don't know who that is as well. But thanks again. Any last comment you can make before the sound goes out?
Thank you so much for having me, and I'll definitely see you next week.
You sure will, my friend. Be safe, be well. And by the way, one thing I want to say is that Victor is a great example as well of taking acting, because I've watched this series which is called My American Family, and in my opinion, and I'm not just giving these, I don't give compliments, by the way, folks, unless I mean them. I don't need to. There it is. And it's great if you watch My American Family. I consider Victor to be the sort of the new Jimmy Stewart. Jimmy Stewart. He has an amazing delivery, and I barely see him moving. And that's funny because he's also a very good martial artist. So look up his name, look up his information. Hey, what is your website again? I need to plug this in for next week, but what's the website?
Movieviewers.net is the company, and myamericanfamily.net is the TV show.
Absolutely cool. Thanks, brother. We'll talk to you next week, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Hey, folks, that is the end of the show. I really appreciate you coming on. Wow, all I have to say, what a amazing, hey, thank you very much, Monty. I appreciate it. What an amazing week this has been. And I just want to say thank you all for sticking with us and getting this information out about all the things that we're talking about, because the business is something that we're very passionate about. And the fact is that when people mess with, and I made this conversation earlier today with someone off the air, when people are making waves in your industry, your livelihood, people tend to get upset. If you don't think that's true, check politics while you're at it. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for hanging out in the show. I'm Will Roberts, and we will see you soon. Please check out newsblaze.com. I'm going to go get some sort of something to get this out of my throat. And there it is. It's gone. Ribbit, ribbit. I had a frog in my throat. We'll see you next week. Thanks for hanging out with us. I think you're all awesome. Any questions, please send us a message. See you soon.